This episode of the Sloopcast is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company is an Ohio-based company where they usually say, our seasoning will take your barbecue from good to great. Great seasonings such as the Smoked, the Kerry Steak, the Discord, and the Mad Hatter, and much, much more at themadcanadianbbq.com. That is themadcanadianbbq.com.
I personally just bought 3 of those. I won't say which 3.
Yes, by using the promo code ONEYEAR20. That is one spelled out, ONEYEAR20 at checkout for 20% off. That's right, 20% off this entire month by using one spelled out year 20 at checkout. Be sure to check out Mad Canadian in Cary, Ohio, across from the fire department on North and Patterson this Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. or Saturday, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Cary Ace Hardware. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where he has your butt covered.
What's up, YouTube?
Cheers.
Cheers. What you drinking?
Not this.
I got a Cool Beans by Jackie O's.
Well, that's cool.
It's a coffee ale. It's pretty good.
I'm still drinking my Oktoberfest.
Yeah, I just never seen this Jackie's before, so I picked it up.
Speaking of Jackie's,
they're coming to Columbus.
Sup?
Sup, Jackie? We heard you're coming to Columbus. Need a place to stay?
We can hook you up.
Need a place to advertise? We're fans. We are fans. That's right from me to you, Jackie. I know there's no one there named Jackie, but it's a lot funnier if I personify it. All right, let's rejoin the audio listeners. We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing pretty well. How are you, Jared?
I don't think I have any complaints at the moment. We're getting closer to Ohio State football.
2 weeks.
Yeah. This weekend is a little bittersweet because I think like October 10 was like the thing we were rallying behind for such a long time. October 10. And then like, okay, maybe October 17. Okay. October 17, 10 or 17. Then it was like 24th. Fine.
Fine.
As long as it gets us in position for the playoffs, that's fine, I guess.
Yeah. But no later.
No.
All right, Jared, we got a few things to talk about today.
We do.
We're going to talk about some Buckeye updates, some Q&A. Going to do our SlooPicks. We actually got a guest listener emailing us for this week, so we're going to go over that.
I like how you say actually, as if we didn't just have one person forget to send us an. Well, it's only been one person, Kyle.
Feels like forever.
It does.
And then we'll finish up with some AskSloopCast questions. So let's go off to the top here. Buckeye updates. Buckeyes have been practicing, like I mentioned, 2 weeks left. We got under 15 days this is being released, under 15 days that Buckeyes will be in Columbus. I had to think about the first game where they were going to play at, but yes, it is in Columbus against Nebraska.
At noon. With Gus Johnson.
Gus effing Johnson. All right, Jared.
Yeah.
Some questions here for you.
Yeah. This is not the Ask Sloopcast section. This is just Kyle asking me questions.
Ask Jared.
Yeah.
All right. One of the things we've mentioned about over the past couple weeks, and I think especially last week, about the quarterbacks, in case the worst were to happen with Fields, injury or getting the virus, we talked about who's going to be that next person, who's going to be that QB2 here.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit of what you've heard about with the freshman quarterbacks.
Okay, so first and foremost, especially if it's early in the season, I still expect it to be Gunnar Hoke. Especially if it's early in the season. But maybe... I really, even then, I think that if Fields has to leave for a play or two or a drive or two, I still think it's going to be Gunnar Hoke. If there's going to be a longer quarterback outage, maybe spanning weeks, then maybe you get one of the freshmen ready. But for right now, I think it's still Gunnar Hoke. But between the freshmen, which I think is what you were actually asking me, it does look like CJ Stroud is starting to separate himself a bit. He did come in slightly higher touted than Miller did. But even with that into consideration, CJ Stroud has really come in and impressed. And there seems to be some separation there.
Interesting. Separation from CJ Stroud.
Yeah, and that's not a knock on Jack Miller. As we all know, the plan is for neither of them to see any meaningful snaps this year. Underline under meaningful, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And a year from now, who knows what the situation is, but looking at things right now, it does look like CJ Stroud is pulling ahead a bit.
All right, cool. Sticking with freshmen here. But the freshman wide receivers here, what have you been hearing about these talented receivers that we've been gushing about since like a year ago, essentially?
So first and foremost, I want to say that all four of them are incredibly talented. So we are, what's the phrase I'm looking for here? Nitpicking, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
They all look great. So I just want to get that out of the way right now. I am going to highlight two people in particular. Don't take that as bad news about the other two. So I just want to get that out there. Right now, it does look like Smith Njimba and G. Scott Jr. Are separating themselves a little bit. Maybe even Smith Njimba more so. Sort of maybe even being slightly above G. Scott at this time. But I think it's basically what we're seeing right now. I think that we see at least three of them get some pretty decent snap counts this year. Mookie Cooper maybe not so much, simply because of the position he plays and being a bit behind, not playing his senior year. So that plays in with Mookie Cooper. But
let's not forget too about who's ahead of them too. Olave and Wilson. How much meaningful time are these receivers going to get in? Are they going to see just a handful of plays each?
Ohio State likes to rotate their wide receivers. Until we see that change, we just keep assuming that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth until it's not anymore.
I mean, on average, how many receivers are you going to see on the field? I mean, after all, this is 2020. It is the year of the tight end.
That's a good point, Kyle. I do think that you will see three wide receivers on the field most of the time. Three wide receivers on the field at least most of the time. I think you're going to see a one running back, one tight end, three wide receiver set as probably your base set would be my assumption.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. All right. Any updates on Haskell Garrett?
Yeah, Haskell Garrett, I guess maybe in case anyone's unaware, was involved in a shooting. And before anyone makes any assumptions about that, by all accounts, he was a good guy responding to a domestic situation that had nothing to do with him. So don't take that the wrong way about him doing stuff he shouldn't be doing, or even putting himself in positions he shouldn't be in. He was by all accounts and everything I've heard, that he was You know, I know a lot of people just sort of dip out during the summer, then come back in at this time. So I know a lot of you already know this, but just throwing that out there, that this was actually something in favor of his character and not against it. So I just want to go ahead and throw that out there first. There is optimism that he'll play this year. Probably not. I would say definitely not week 1. I wouldn't expect to see him week 1. He is practicing right now. By the way, when I say he was shot, let's not mince words. He was shot in the face. So let's just
and it was like in and out too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, no, I'm not going to say that, because even though it was, I'm just not going to say that. But point is that he is practicing. He has a helmet on, which if you've been shot in the face, I think being willing to wear a helmet is probably a really great step forward in your progress. Again, there is optimism within Ohio State right now that we will see Garrett play this year, but not right away. And that's probably a good thing, as the defensive tackles are, well, maybe more specifically the 3-tech defensive tackles are probably a pretty big question mark heading into this year. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of depth there. Without Haskell, Garrett in the mix, there really might not be a solid number 1 guy there right now. It doesn't, we have a couple more weeks of camp. That doesn't mean someone can't step up. That doesn't, yada, yada, yada. But, if we're, again, the defensive line's great. But if we're nitpicking, we're, slightly concerned about the 3-tech defensive tackle. Slightly concerned.
All right. Yeah. It's amazing what a year made, when last year we said, oh, this might be the best defensive tackle group we've ever had. And now here we are 1 year later. Now we're concerned about who's number 1.
Well, I mean, we were saying the same thing about the corners last year versus the corners this year.
Mm-hmm.
Shaun Wade went from the absolute number 3 to the absolute number 1 because you had 2 corners go in the first round last year. And just imagine had Shaun Wade left.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Speaking of defensive tackles, Taiwan Malone, who we've talked about in the past here, seemed like a reasonable shot for Ohio State to pull in here. So he releases his top 6.
He is a class of 2001 defensive tackle from New Jersey.
21.
What'd I say?
1.
Interesting.
Unless I heard wrong, but so he releases his top 6, and he's left out the Buckeyes.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with that?
Yeah. Last time we talked about, we haven't done like a solid wall-to-wall recruiting episode in a while. But the last time we talked about Taiwan Malone, we talked about Ohio State being not a shoo-in by any means, but probably the number 1 team, even if it was by a slight margin. So in the couple months since we've had a serious recruiting episode, Taiwan Malone went from, favoring Ohio State, even if it was by a little bit, to Ohio State no longer in the top 6. And I think the one-line explanation here is that he's also a baseball player, which is a thing we knew. He wanted to play I almost said basketball. He wanted to play baseball in college, which was a thing we knew. But I think maybe a thing we didn't know, or at least maybe underestimated at the time, or maybe his own personal mind has changed. I'm not 100% sure. Baseball is probably, or I guess is a higher priority for him than at least Kyle and I were saying at the time.
Okay. Any updates on your favorite position, the slobs here? What have you heard for the O-line battles?
Yeah, no real surprise here. The 5 offensive linemen. You can basically go ahead and say Munford, Miller, Myers, Davis. Those are your, from left to right. That's your left tackle, left guard, center, right guard. That's set in stone. That's absolutely what's happening. And you can also probably feel really, really good that MPF is your right tackle. That you can feel pretty good about that. That's not set in stone the way the other 4 are set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had to put money on it, that's your guy right there. That's NPF. You can't completely roll out DeJuan Jones. I think he's in that conversation. I think it's a possibility that he ends up winning that spot. It's not a good possibility, but it's a possibility. He's still involved in that battle. And for that matter, and I think it would probably take an injury to make this happen, and he might work his way into the 2 deep. Don't completely count out, and it's wild to say this, he's a freshman. Do not completely 100% count out Paris Johnson Jr.
More on him here shortly.
Yeah. Now that being said, you can 99% count him out. It'll be either NPF or DeJuan Jones again, unless there's any injuries. Thayer Munford, since we're talking about offensive line injuries, it's very much worth noting. He had a lot of back problems. That he is looking really good, that he's That's moving good. Well, that he seems to be at full health right now. So, we're talking potential injuries along the offensive line. It's definitely worth noting that Thayer Munford is looking and moving really good right now.
Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, NPF is Nicholas Petit-Frere. Yeah. I think I nailed that one. All right. How's the cornerback battle?
Yeah, we were just sort of talking about how that went from the strength of the team to maybe the biggest weakness, or maybe just the secondary in general, just based purely on who they lost, which for anyone playing at home was everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyone out of the 4 anyway. Obviously, Shaun Wade returns. So Shaun Wade returns. He's your CB1 now, obviously. There's no doubt there. So now you have Sevyn Banks and Cam Brown as your primary participants in the cornerback 2 battle. And it does look like Sevyn Banks is currently winning that. That being said, you're still going to see you're still going to see both of them on the field. There's going to be a lot of rotation there. Both guys are going to see the field. But for right now, if you're battling for the number of snaps or the honor of starting, that does appear to be leaning Sevyn Banks' way at the moment. I guess the one sentence explanation of that is just that maybe he's a little bit more technically sound right now.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We got some black stripes.
Yes.
Right before we recorded, Ohio State decides to come out late Wednesday of 2 black stripes to be removed. And that is, just mentioned him a minute ago, Paris Johnson Jr. and defensive back Cameron Martinez.
Yeah, in fact, those hit so those hit so short before we started recording just now that I just checked my phone to make sure there wasn't a third one. That's how recently that happened in our timeline. But yeah, like I said, Paris Johnson Jr., that appears to be a slam dunk recruit so far. That, surprising no one. I think we all knew that, but of course, not all recruits work out all the time. But it does look like the hype is real around Paris Johnson Jr. If we see, we'll see Thayer Munford probably leave. No one has to leave this year. That's worth repeating. A lot of people have not maybe picked up on this yet. No one's losing eligibility this year. Every single player can come back. So theoretically, every single Buckeye can come back. But you will see a good number of Buckeyes leave. Just because that's what Buckeyes do. We rent them more than anything else.
All right. Any other news that you like to bring up before we go into the SlooPicks?
I think we should hit up the SlooPicks. Looking at the timestamp, I think we'll probably have to stop halfway here and do an ad read in the SlooPicks, which we don't necessarily like doing, but that's just where we are from a timing perspective right now.
All right, let's go into it here. First game here, Jared, of our 7 games. Do we have?
It's always 7. Always 7.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's always
5,
7.
6, 7. You are right. 7.
It's literally built into the website. I can't choose any. I mean, at the beginning of the season, I could have made it as many as I wanted it, but once it's locked in, it's locked in. It'll always be 7.
All right, cool. All right, first up, Virginia Tech heading on over to Chapel Hill, take on the Tar Heels. North Carolina is a 5.5-point favorite. Who do you have, Jared?
In a game like this, I feel like both of these teams are pretty big question marks. North Carolina does not feel like the 8th best team in the country to me right now. I think they have a lot of talent. And of course, the numbers are skewed because there aren't any Pac-12 teams in the rankings and not many Big Ten teams in the rankings. But
Jared, we don't talk about rankings.
I was talking about them in the aspect of them not being correct. So that's permissible. So basically, I'm going to go with the underdog in this game simply because I don't feel like I have a great grip on which one of these teams is actually better. Therefore, I'm just going to pick the underdog.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. 5.5 is a little too much for me. I think North Carolina will end up winning it, but I'll take Virginia Tech to cover.
I am so 50-50 on who wins this game that it's just like, I don't care if it was minus 1.5 points.
All right, we have the Red River.
Just don't
rivalry.
There you go.
Texas and Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a 2.5-point favorite, even though losing their last 2 games and 3 of their last 4.
3 of their last 3 against actual FBS teams.
Yes, that too. But Oklahoma is a 2.5-point favorite in this rivalry.
Yeah. I think both of these teams are walking disasters right now. I mean, are they not? If anything, I'd say Texas looks better, but does that mean Texas looks good? Because I don't think that they do. I was honestly surprised to see Oklahoma favored here. So me being surprised to see Oklahoma favored should probably tell you that I am going to, in fact, take Texas.
Yeah, I'm curious, though, what the over-under is on this. The over-under is... Wow. Wait. Nope, never mind. The over-under is set like at 65, 66.
That feels low. We don't real life gamble or do overs and unders on this show, but that feels low.
Mm-hmm. So I got Oklahoma to cover. I just
okay.
2.5 is just pretty much a pick 'em to me. I mean, that's a field goal.
Yeah, it's less than a field goal. Most importantly, less than a field goal.
It's not 3.5.
Yeah.
I'll take Oklahoma here. I'll take Oklahoma.
All right. We at least have a difference this week, unlike last week. So we got that going for us.
All right, cool. Let's see if we can keep on rolling here. Next up, we got Florida taking on Texas A&M. The Gators, Jared, are a 6.5-point favorite. And Jared.
Yeah.
Florida's going to cover that easily. Give me Florida.
I think you're forgetting how terrible Florida's defense is.
I think you forget how terrible Texas A&M is.
Now, here's the thing, and I think this is playing into, because I'm seeing on our website that the vast majority of the people are picking Florida. Not within our Sloopcast group, but just across all of CBS, which is the website we do our pick'ems through. And I think that that's a bit skewed because Texas A&M looks bad because they've played Alabama. Florida looks good because they haven't played Alabama. I think is basically what that boils down to. And I think that's pushed that number.
Well, I can use that logic in favor of me too, because Texas A&M did play Alabama and showed me how bad they are. That's my reason to pick Florida.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking like I'm about to disagree with you, and I'm not. I'm also going to pick Florida, but what I disagree with is sort of your certainty. It's not your choice I disagree with. It's your level of certainty that I disagree with.
That's all we're deciding is the choice. Doesn't matter if you're.
If this was like, let me ask you this. Just entertain me here for a second. What if it was 9.5?
Florida.
Yeah. See, I would flip to Texas A&M at that point.
Okay. Now 10.5. That Portland touchdown and field goal right there. All right. So we both pick Florida. All right, we can keep going here. Jared, we need to talk about our picker.
Crap. No wonder we're moving so quick.
No wonder why. All right, let's backtrack here. Virginia Tech, North Carolina. North Carolina is a 5.5 favorite.
This is Jason, by the way.
This is Jason. Thank you, Jason. He says here, we like the Hokies here. We.
It's a royal we. I mean, he started his email with howdy, so obviously he's of the aristocracy.
Okay. UNC came out flat after their early hiatus. I like Tech and what they're doing this year, and as dogs, they win this one outright on the road.
You see, yeah.
All right. Next one here is Texas and Oklahoma, where Oklahoma is 2.5. Old friend Alex Grinch couldn't call a defense in 2018, made Rondale Moore a household name in Columbus.
Yeah.
He still can't call a defense, but no way Lincoln Riley loses 3 straight. He did to FBS teams.
Yeah, he kind of already has.
Dicker the kicker misses the game-tying attempt as time expires and Sooners cover the number.
There you go. He's with you on that all-important
field goal.
2.5 as opposed to 3.5.
Yep. The Florida Texas A&M game. He says Kyle Trask versus Kyle Field. Both are hyped. Both are overhyped.
Ooh.
Florida's one-dimensional offense running through the tight ends couldn't put away the Gamecocks and cover. Tighter game here, but Aggies cover.
See, he's a little bit closer. He's a little bit closer to me.
All right, that's fine.
I have to highly disagree with Trask being overhyped. I've found myself watching a few Florida games this year. I think that dude's for real. I like Kyle Trask a lot. All right,
and I do like their receivers too.
And their tight end. His name's also Kyle. There's a lot of it's Kyle throwing to Kyle at Kyle Field this weekend, and Kyle thinks that the team with the Kyles is going to win.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. All right, we can keep going here. Texas.
Why don't we go ahead and do let's go ahead and do the ad read. We're right at 30 minutes according to my clock.
All right. Well. All right. Let's hear it from the Mad Canadian, Jared. What do you have over there? Do you want to choose? Just randomly pick one. I said randomly.
You can't say randomly after I'd already been looking for 5 seconds.
Okay.
Let's see. I grabbed this one. This is the S&P Bud. This is one of the ones I just got more of, because as you can see, it's pretty low. I kind of tripped on this, I think during last week's episode. Maybe it was last. It doesn't matter. Potato cheat code.
Mm-hmm.
Potato cheat code. Whatever you're doing with your potatoes, doesn't matter what you're doing with your potatoes. The S&P bud, that's your way to go. Let's see. I'm drinking a coffee beer right now, so let's talk about a coffee barbecue seasoning. That's the Coffee and Q. That's chili powder, maple sugar, paprika, ground coffee, and additional spices. The coffee in the Coffee and Q, by the way, is by Iron Bean Coffee, which is a veteran-run coffee brewer in, I'm just going to say northern Ohio, because I forget specifically where. Perry, Ohio? Kyle, you want to Google that for me? And by the way, and if Iron Bean Coffee wants to sponsor the podcast, just let me know. And I've been eating a lot of the Kerry steak recently. I don't have it over here because it's in the kitchen because I was using it. But I've been doing some potatoes and some sweet potatoes and some carrots in the air fryer, and then having like some diced beef and just sort of having that as a lunch and or a dinner. And it's all coated in Kerry steak, and it's really very good. That's it.
Perrysburg.
I was halfway there.
Almost. Be sure to use the promo code 1year20. One spelled out, year 20 for 20% off your entire order when you head on over to themadcanadianbbq.com.
All right, Kyle. Let's get back into the picks. We were at Texas A&M and Iowa State.
That would be Texas Tech and Iowa State.
That would be the correct thing to say.
Iowa State is a 12.5 point favorite.
So this was the one I had the most problems with. I struggled on this one to come up with an answer. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say before I pick.
Interesting. Because I didn't have any issues with this one. Interesting.
You went straight head forward into this, is what you're telling me.
I did, yes. I got the boys. Well, actually, they're both red. I got the Red Raiders.
Okay.
I got the Red Raiders to cover. Iowa State still wins, but close.
Yeah, as do I. I think Iowa State, I like them a lot. I think they've bounced back incredibly well after losing to, was it one of the Louisiana schools? I forget. It was either Louisiana
Lafayette
Monroe or Lafayette. I forget which Sun Belt team they lost to, but they lost to a Sun Belt team. But they've looked good since then. They've picked up 2 wins, one of them against Oklahoma. 12.5 just feels like a lot considering they've yet to win a game by anywhere near that much so far this year. So that just feels like a lot. Shout out to our Mount Union boys over in Iowa State right now. But 12.5 just feels like a lot. I agree with Kyle. I think they win, but I'm just not willing to put 12.5 points on it.
All right. And our good friend Jason says, Raiders running into a Cyclone team due for a letdown. Doubt they can pull off a W, but no chance Iowa State locks the back door. We all agree. Moving on. Tennessee heading on over to Georgia. Yeah, should be Georgia. I don't think this is a neutral site, but the Bulldogs, Jared, the Bulldogs here are a 13.5 point favorite. Who do you have here?
So, we saw Clemson, I don't want to use the word struggle. I think we saw Clemson just be a bit flat last week against a clearly inferior team. You know, they scored when they felt like they had to. It was a team lacking a bit of motivation at times, which is just what happens when you're Clemson playing in the ACC. I don't feel like there's going to be a lack of motivation this time around. I think that the numbers Miami's been putting up,
We're talking about Georgia and Tennessee here.
Wow.
I'm like, where are you going with this, Jared?
That's enough beer for me tonight.
Georgia and Tennessee.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on Georgia a lot. I thought that they were good. Then I thought they were bad. Then I thought they were really bad. Now I think they're good again. So I've not nailed down Georgia so far. That being said, I do feel like I know who Tennessee is, which is that they're Tennessee. They're a middle of the road SEC East team. And I think the number pretty accurately reflects that, because even if Georgia is a bit of a question mark at quarterback right now, they still are a vastly more talented team just based off of recruiting, and the defense is insane. 13.5 is a number that's too big for me to be comfortable with, but I'm going to roll with anyway. I don't feel great about that number. I wish it was a tad bit lower, but I'm still going to go with it. So Georgia to win and cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel very similar to you. I just like every year with Tennessee, I just don't have any confidence in Tennessee. Made our apologies with Georgia in last episode here. Yeah. So we'll stick with Georgia one more week here, or not one more, but we'll stick with Georgia this week and pick them to cover here.
Okay.
Jason says here, I like the hottest team in football. The Volunteer get points. Georgia's offense has too many questions, and this feels like a game Tennessee circled early.
So he's taking Tennessee.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. He's obviously higher on Tennessee than you and I are. Mm-hmm. And as far as Georgia goes, say what you want to say about their quarterback and their offense. I've said it myself, but I think that's a damn fine defense they have.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of good defenses, Jared, Miami taking on Clemson.
Yo, I have so much to say about this. In fact, I can't wait.
Clemson is a 14, not 13.5, but 14.5 point favorite.
Yeah.
I'll let you start, Jared. Or continue.
As I was saying. Clemson, like I said, sort of sleptwalked through last week's game. They're not going to do that this time. They've seen the numbers Miami's putting up. They see what King is capable of. This isn't a game that Clemson sleepwalks through. They're going to go into this one both eyes forward. If you're looking for Clemson to stumble, maybe look at next week as a game that maybe they're not quite up for. And let's remember that Clemsoning is losing the week after a big game, not losing the big game. That's Oklahoma-ing. No, that's losing against the team
that's Kansas State.
That's unranked. No, it was a crazy stat, like losing to a team that they're favored by more than 24 against, or something crazy like that. Oklahoma's done that an insane number of times the past few years. Moving forward, I like Clemson to show up big in this game. This is the type of game, like I said, that they're not going to sleepwalk through. They're going to show up and look like the national champions that they are capable of being in this game. And I think that this is a lot like Ohio State playing Penn State. Is Penn State a good team? Yeah, Penn State's a good team. Are they on Ohio State's level? No, sir, they are not. This is like Ohio State playing Michigan or Penn State. It's a very good team against an elite team. And even if that very good team feels really hot right now, they just aren't at the talent level yet.
Let me ask you this, Jared. If it was set to 11.5.
I'm still picking Clemson. I'm picking Clemson at 14.5.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's say 19.5.
Clemson.
22.5?
Miami.
Okay.
I probably draw the line at 21. Or, 20.5. It's probably where I would draw the line on this game.
Interesting. Yeah, this is the one I had the toughest. I think 14.5 is that number. I think that's a really good number to me. Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
I wanted to, but I didn't. I interrupt you too much, and I'm trying not to.
You're good. You're good. If you want to say something, go ahead. But no, this is. I went back and forth with this one. I really like Miami. They have a pretty solid team here. They're quick. They got some really good athletes here.
Yeah.
I think that they could really test Clemson out here.
Yeah.
And see if they really are the championship caliber team that we think that they should be. I know that Miami just steamrolled Florida State last week, but I think Florida State's not a great team.
Florida State also struggled to beat Jacksonville State last week.
Yeah. I'm just going to pick Miami to cover. I think that's just that's tough. I think Clemson wins easily, but I guess I shouldn't say easily, but they win comfortably, but no more than 2 touchdowns, which is right there.
Yeah.
That's that half point there.
I think there's a lot of Ohio State fans out there that want to because we did it all last year.
We did, yeah.
Where Clemson never looked good last year. And that's not necessarily their fault because the ACC was horrendous last year. Mm-hmm. So we never saw them tested, and it was really, really easy to negate the good things they did and point at the games in which they didn't show up the most motivated and say, see, they're not any good. They're not any good.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is that they are. They're a very good team, even if they don't show it every week.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see this being a game in which they don't show up with complete focus and motivation.
Yeah, and King's playing really well right now.
Against who, though? Who has Miami played?
True. But
we all got really excited about Miami because they humiliated Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
But then Florida State proceeded to the next week. Was it 21-14 at half for Florida State against Jacksonville State last week?
But you could say the same with Clemson, though.
No. It's Jacksonville State. They're a FCS team.
I understand, though, Jared, but I should say everybody, but you see teams from time to time that they just lay an egg for one reason or another, though.
But they were down 14-0 against Jacksonville State. This is next level bad for Florida State right now. This isn't losing to a Sun Belt team. This isn't losing to North Dakota State, who's one of the absolute best FCS schools. This isn't even Michigan losing to Appy State, who was one of the best at the time FCS schools.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville State's a good FCS school. Don't get me wrong. They're not a bad FCS school, but it's still an FCS school.
Yeah. I understand what you're getting, but yeah, Florida State's a bad team, but then look at the teams that Clemson's played too, and you can't compare saying, oh, Clemson's played so far a better schedule when they played the Citadel. They played the Citadel this year.
I understand that. They have an absolute cupcake win, but we also saw Florida State beat Ohio State last year. Or excuse me, we saw Clemson beat Ohio State last year. We saw basically the same squad of players win the national championship a year before. We know who these guys are.
Mm-hmm.
We know they have one of the best 2 or 3 or probably the best quarterback in the country. We know what Clemson is.
Yeah,
we don't know what Miami is because the only evidence we have are basically them knocking off Florida State, who turns out to actually be terrible.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair. But I'm going to go off of what I've seen so far. But you're right to look at it that end. I'm just going to look at it at a different end here. And so far, from what we've seen with King, he's looked really well
so far, and I like him.
He's looked really well. He's passing efficiently. Hasn't really turned the ball over. Yeah, I mean, I think he'll give Clemson a run for their money here.
I don't think, no matter how good he's looked, I don't think he can completely carry the team.
No, I still think Clemson will, like I mentioned before, Clemson's going to win this easily, but it's not going to be more than 14, 15 points there.
Yeah.
Jason says here, I like the Hurricanes to cover. They familiarize themselves with primetime, and Brent Venables didn't have his September cupcakes to get his defense humming. The Canes' quick receivers could give the Tigers secondary fits and have big plays to keep them close.
Yeah. Real quick, Jason, if you're listening to this, and I'll also email you, we do need, and Kyle, because I forgot to ask him, and that's my fault. Just want to point that out. That is my fault. Do we know if Jason's in the online thing?
I can't tell right offhand.
Yeah, he is. Never mind. So we can go ahead and say it. Kyle, this is the game in which we have to pick a over under a total score.
All right. You want to go, or do you want me to?
I'll say it.
Okay.
I have it set at 70.
Minus a touchdown for me. I got 63.
Okay. Let's see. We have one more game to go.
One more. Haha. Florida State. Florida State and Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a 21.5 point favorite.
I want to say that the only reason I even picked this game as a game to be picked is because I've been trying to spread them out across the day.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the only other primetime game that I thought was even kind of worth talking about. So, there's that.
There's that.
Let's see. So, Florida State, as we just talked about, pretty bad. Notre Dame, pretty good.
Okay. Hold on. What makes you say Notre Dame's pretty good?
I think they have a good talent. And when I say pretty good, I want to really, because I think you're going to try and nail me on something here. They're really good in that they are in the group of the second tier of the ACC.
Okay.
Right now, I have them on even standing with Miami and North Carolina as teams that are pretty good in the ACC right now, but are still, in my opinion, way, way behind Clemson.
Okay.
So if I said before that Miami is Penn State, Notre Dame's Michigan. A very good team that, and by the way, the Notre Dame-Michigan comparison works on a few different levels.
Yes, I'm thinking of a few.
But they're a really good team that's not an elite team. It's like James Franklin himself said when Ohio State had that comeback win over Penn State. He goes, we're very good. They're elite. And that's what it is. Notre Dame is very good. It's a very good football team. This is a top 15. I don't even think you could dispute that this year, this is a top 15 football program. They're not top 5 the way they're currently ranked, but they're a top 15 team. They're a very good team that could potentially backdoor their way into the playoff. Maybe. I that fourth spot is wide open in my head. So sure, maybe it's a possibility.
Right. So who you got here? Do you have Notre Dame 21.5 or Florida State to cover?
I got Notre Dame to win and cover simply because I think absolutely nothing of Florida State right now. Absolutely dog shit nothing of Florida State right now. It's real bad in Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I got Florida State to cover here.
Yeah. It's a big number.
It is a big number. It just mainly because a lot of it has to do with me thinking highly of Miami. And that's why
Miami. Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. Never mind. I'll shut up.
That's why I thought highly of Miami in my pick to have them cover Clemson, is because they're just that much better. And I just still don't really know a ton about Notre Dame. Yes, they're a really good team, as you mentioned, though. But they squeaked out a win against Duke, who's not a good football team this year, too. And then they played USF, not really a good football team this year. So I don't know. Maybe the new quarterback here, Florida State, might spark some new things here and give Notre Dame an early run for their money. But Notre Dame pulls out late. But 21.5 is just, it's too much for me. Too much.
I think there's just a really big talent gap here, and that really big talent gap favors Notre Dame by a lot.
Yeah. The talent gap is there, but 21.5 is still.
It's a bit much. I'd feel way better if it was at least if it was like 17.
I was going to say about 17.5. Yeah.
But like I said, I have complete and utter no respect for Florida State right now.
Yeah. All right. Jason here says, "Don't care how many points you want me to lay. Florida State is a train wreck.
Thank
Notre
you,
Dame
Jason.
Could be the 4th team in the playoff. Irish roll.
Jason, you and I were not on the same page on a couple of those picks, but I feel like you could easily accuse me, and I didn't. All I do is copy and paste the email into our show notes. I don't read it at all. You and I are basically twins on that prediction.
And then he puts in here 7-0. Here we come.
Good luck to you, my buddy. Good luck to you. All right, that's it for the SlooPicks.
All right, we had some differences this week.
Who were our differences?
Let's see.
We both had Virginia Tech.
Both had Virginia Tech.
I took Texas. You took Oklahoma.
Yep.
We both took Florida.
Yep.
Did we both take Texas Tech?
I picked Texas Tech.
Okay, so we both took Texas Tech. We both picked Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
But Jason did not.
Yep.
I picked Clemson. You picked Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I picked Notre Dame. You picked Florida State. So what? That's
3 differences.
Just 3.
Mm-hmm. It's still almost half.
Yeah. No, I just thought it was 4 for a second. That's all. All right, Kyle. Let's try to lightning round our AskSloopCast questions.
All right, Jared. I can't answer this first one because I don't know if I've really had one, but what's the best beer in Canada? Asks Duncan.
Early in my drinking life, I would drink a Labatt's. It's sort of fallen.
I've ever had one.
You may have, because I know I had them at the apartment, like the first apartment we lived together in. If you remember that place. I think I had some Labatt's around. I can't swear one way or the other that you drank any of them, but I know I had them around. So probably that's the only one I ever drank with any regularity, but not one I'd probably ever drink again. I can't say that I've drank a ton of Canadian beers, but I'll go Labatt's.
Okay. All right. Next question from Duncan. Last year, the preseason dialogue was, what if Justin Fields isn't that good? And what if Ryan Day isn't Urban Meyer? Is it, what if Rutgers screws us all and the season falls apart again? And what if one of the dozen running backs isn't good enough? Or is there a more glaring unnecessary concern for a fan base that just needs the season to start so we can collectively stop worrying so much?
I'm personally not worrying. I think if you're looking for something to worry about, what I think you were saying about Rutgers, what if Rutgers screws us and the season falls apart again? I think what you're saying is like, what if COVID screws us over? And you just sort of picked out Rutgers, and being on the East Coast and them maybe just not giving that much of a shit about their football season and maybe acting irresponsibly and other factors, Rutgers feels like a team that could be a COVID hotspot out of all the others. I think that's the biggest concern, is that if too many of Ohio State's games get canceled, that maybe they aren't put into serious consideration for the playoffs. I think that is probably the biggest concern.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the biggest concern.
Yeah.
I think even if Ohio State loses to Penn State close, they could still make the playoffs. And by the way, I think if Penn State loses to Ohio State close, Penn State could still make the playoffs. That 4th spot, I said it before about Notre Dame, I'll say it again about Penn State. That 4th spot in my mind is wide open. The Pac-12 are only playing 7 games. So they can't screw up. They can't stumble. The Big 12, all of their hopes are on Oklahoma State right now, and I just don't see it. There's a 4th spot open. May it be Notre Dame, may it be Florida, Georgia, North Carolina? That 4th, Miami, that 4th spot's pretty wide open right now.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have Suncard. Suncard asks us, if you could make one realistic change to the 2018 season, what would that change be?
The entire defensive coaching staff.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a realistic change or not.
Don't lose to Purdue.
Well, and hold on, not Larry Johnson. I think that goes without saying. But when I say the entire defensive coaching staff, not Larry Johnson. That goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really looking for realistic, maybe just one change, which would probably be maybe Alex Grinch or the linebackers coach whose name I'm forgetting, and probably I don't care that I've forgotten it. No, Kyle, for God's sakes, do not look him up. I saw you sort of lean back and go for the keyboard. But yeah, I would, if the entire defensive coaching staff minus Larry Johnson isn't a realistic change, then maybe just Alex Grinch, or maybe just the linebackers coach, who's, again, name I'm forgetting.
You know what it should be?
What's that?
I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Help me out here.
Help me out. Defensive coach, Cincinnati.
The current defensive coordinator in Cincinnati?
Is he a coordinator?
The defensive coordinator, the former Ohio State linebacker, and I've caught
Freeman.
Yes.
Freeman.
Marcus Freeman. They tried. They tried.
I know.
They tried. People were like, why didn't they hire Marcus Freeman? They tried. Mm-hmm. They tried again when Ryan Day took over and reshaped the defensive coaching staff. They tried.
Yeah.
He's the heir apparent in Cincinnati. When Fickell moves on to a better job, Marcus Freeman will become the head coach. There's no reason to become a coordinator at Ohio State just so you can gain enough steam to then become the head coach at Cincinnati, when you basically are already... He could... If Fickell had gotten a job, he could have been the coordinator at Cincinnati right now.
Michigan State.
That made too much sense.
It does. It makes way too much sense. All right. I like this question here from Austin. Austin asked, if you were Ryan Day, Jared.
Yeah.
How would you spend the last 2 Saturdays before Buckeye football?
Film.
There's only one question. There's only one answer to that.
Film.
And I believe somebody in our Discord already had the answer here. Duncan says, Woody would tell you to prep for Teton.
There you go. That's
You don't have as much more. Well, I mean, if has the Urban Meyer mentality, he's been prepping all year.
Yeah. I'd be watching Clemson games, I'll tell you that much. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, probably recruiting, making calls, doing all that stuff. He's recruiting. They spent last Saturday morning at the Horseshoe practicing.
All right, one more question from Austin, or two more, really. If you could change one thing about Buckeye football program at large, what would it be?
Screw the Big Ten.
Yes.
That's not realistic. Yeah, but you didn't say realistic.
This part is brought to you by Know Your Enemy.
and the Fire Kevin Warren Commission.
Yes. I mean, that's a good one, Jared. That's a good one. You know what another one would be, and I don't really care for, and I might get some heat for this?
Okay. Oh, Kyle's coming with a hot take. Hot take coming. 3.
I don't care. I don't
2,
care for the
1
for the
Quick Cows.
Quick Cows.
Oh no one's gonna give you you shit for that. Okay. No one likes the Quick Cows.
I don't like the Quick Cows. Get rid of it.
Yeah, no one likes the Quick Cows.
All right. Favorite in stadium beverage and food combo.
It's all bad. To me, I'm not a big person of like having a drink and food with me at an Ohio State game. Yeah.
I just don't. I'm just there because I'm there. I'm using my hands. I'm cheering. You know, I'm a very
animated,
very energetic person. Very animated when I'm at games though. But if it is, I'd rather have something quick to eat. So I guess maybe a dog and a Coke or something like that.
Yeah, like I love like nachos, but
I do
at
too.
An Ohio State game, the cheese is stone frickin' cold by the time you get even a quarter of the way through it.
Yeah.
So I just don't on the food. I'll sometimes get like a Coke Zero. Simply because the last time I was at a game, they didn't have beer available throughout the wide stadium yet. I think they were still just doing it for the box seats. So I primarily do that for the souvenir cup.
Yeah, just a Coke or something just to wet in the throat after yelling so much.
And the souvenir cup.
Yes.
Gotta have the souvenir cup. Yeah.
All right. Sun Card. What is one football-related event that is on your bucket list?
National championship.
All right. Yes.
I mean, just to actually be there for one, especially if it was in Jarrah World. Kind of want to see Jarrah World before I die.
Mm-hmm. There's plenty of places I'd like to go.
National championship in Jarrah World would be pretty great.
Yes. Mad Canadian asks, pork rinds or pork cracklings?
Pass.
Yeah, but pick one, Jared.
No.
Jared?
No.
Pick one.
No.
Jared?
No.
Jared?
No.
Jared?
No.
Look in my eyes. Pick one.
No. That's disgusting.
You know what? I'm going to pick one because you asked the question, Mad Canadian. I'm going to earn some brownie points here. So I'm going to pick pork rinds.
All right, I'm going to turn this back around to Mad Canadian. Mad Canadian, if you were making, you said pork rinds? Which one of your own seasonings are you putting on it?
All right.
I expect a 100-word essay.
All right, cool. One more question from Sun Card. What is one food that even if you were allergic to, you would still eat?
That depends on how allergic. I like one of my favorite like online video game guys goes by Cracked Game or no I can't believe I'm blanking on it. Crank Gameplays. He's deathly allergic to peanuts. I think he said like one 1/64 of a peanut would kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it depends upon how allergic you are. Like, I am lactose intolerant, and I do eat ice cream. I just can't eat a lot of ice cream because I won't die. I will just have a really bad night. And I'll stop the description at that point.
Yes. Please.
So I guess I still do ice cream even though I'm lactose intolerant, but I don't think lactose intolerant is the same thing as having a food allergy.
Yeah, correct. One food that if I were allergic to,
you know how expensive EpiPens are? No food's worth that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Pizza? I'd still eat pizza.
What specifically are you allergic to, though?
The cheese.
So you just get some soy cheese.
Okay.
There's ways around things. We have all sorts of things that are actually other things.
Quick question here from Mad Canadian. Is it possible to have a Buckeye game party and not have Buckeye chocolates to eat?
I assume he means the peanut butter and chocolate Buckeyes that Kyle's mom makes the absolute best version of, I want to point out. This is a fact. Say hi to your mom.
Hi, Mom.
Okay. Kyle's mom makes the absolute best Buckeyes. I mean, can you have a Buckeye party? Yes. Does it suck? Yeah. Yeah.
That's the answer right there. You can, but it's going to suck.
Yeah.
All right. Last question here. Duncan, ignoring how scary the movie actually was, who's your most frightening, scary movie character? I'll be upfront. I don't really have a favorite scary movie character because I'm not a big fan of scary movies. So I'll kind of let Jared answer this one.
Yeah, I'm actually the same. I don't necessarily have one. Sorry, that's a crap answer.
It is. I know. I really don't know any good.
You know what? Hannibal Lecter. I'm going to go Hannibal Lecter from the Silence of the Lambs series.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I don't know. Maybe Jack from The Shining.
That's a good one.
Okay. All right. I'll stick with that one then.
Yeah.
All right. That is all, Jared. That is it.
All right. We're not even that far over. Let's see. Want to go ahead and let everyone know to please check out the master link. Support us on Patreon would be huge. If we get like 2 people this weekend, that would be great. That's it. Just 2. So like you and a buddy. That's really all we're looking for. 2 people to sign up, even if it's just the $3 tier. You get access to the Discord server. You get early access to episodes, especially these Friday episodes. You get really nice early access on these. And the Mad Canadian just shared a coupon code to the Discord people that's insanely generous. So if you buy Mad Canadian stuff, you might make your money back on coupon codes alone, especially for the month of October. Is how long this coupon code is lasting. Let's see. Check out so you can find that in the master link. You can also find our t-shirt stores. One is the Buckeye SlooPcast store, which has Buckeye SlooPcast merch. Kyle, show off your Buckeye SlooPcast merch.
Well, I don't think you can get this one anymore.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, cool. This is one of our OGs.
Yeah, it is. Well, it was on the Teespring store, but I just ported it over to the TeePublic store, which is our
beer, music, podcasts.
Yeah, that's one of our OGs right there. And then there's also the 7071 store. If you're not someone who necessarily wants to wear, like podcast merchandise, which I get, the 7071 store has a lot of generally sports themed. This is a frictional sports franchise I made up called the Dayton Force. That's a picture of a stealth drone right there. That's pretty cool. Just a fictional Dayton sports team I made up. And that's a bunch of just sort of weird Ohio stuff you can find over in the TeePublic page, the 7071 TeePublic page. And again, you can find those links down in the master link, which is down in the show notes. And I think that's all the talking I feel like doing. Kyle, what do you have in Kyle's Corner?
One thing that I found here and found out today as we were recording here, Jared, Dwayne Haskins getting benched. Not just getting benched, just down all the way to the bottom of the quarterback chain there.
Which is absurd. The Washington in general is bad right now, and to put all of that on Haskins is wrong. By just generally speaking, wrong. His stats were not even bad. If you compared him to a lot of the other young quarterbacks around the league, his stats were pretty in line with other guys who aren't getting benched. Other guys who are also talented, but also playing on terrible teams.
It is just terrible. He has such a terrible offensive line.
Yeah.
Having no time to throw. Just put in a terrible position and pretty much making him try to do the impossible at that organization.
Yeah, and it's
dumpster fire right now.
From the top down. I mean, they might be taking the team away from Dan Snyder. The team doesn't even have a name right now.
It's the football team.
That entire organization's a shit show. Is basically what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm. Wow. How about this, Jared?
Something new?
Governor of Florida has given clearance for full capacity games in Florida.
That feels early. If I'm being honest. But that's all I'm going to go into that right now. I know Ohio just got clear. Ohio, I think, just lifted restrictions on bars and restaurants. And I think the NFL, the pro teams, I think were given clearance. I want to say something small, like 14,000 people, I think, can go to a Bengals game. Something like that. So relatively small. But the Big Ten's going to do what the Big Ten does. So don't expect that to just automatically translate to Ohio State, because it won't. The Big Ten's going to try and keep it even across the board, which, because of like Maryland and Rutgers and Northwestern, will probably mean 0 for a while yet. All right, Kyle, anything else in Kyle's Corner?
I think that is all.
Awesome.
Oh, Tony Gerdeman says Damari McCall is back at practice.
Huh, there you go. That's a last-second breaking news for us.
From Tony G.
It's a couple days old for you
Tony
guys.
G?
I just call him the Gerd, or
The Gerd.
The Goat. The Gerd Goat? Goaty Gerdeman? Goaty Gerdeman.
All right, now you're just wasting time.
Isn't that what we do here?
Maybe.
All right, tonight's ending music will be brought to you by a band called The Crooked Spines. You can check out more information on them. There's a link down in the doobly-doo that will send you probably to their Bandcamp page and tell you whatever song it is of theirs I'm about to choose. So you can check out The Crooked Spines. You can check out all their links down in the info, and you can find out what the name of the song is, because I haven't picked that yet. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course support your local podcasters. Once again, this is The Crooked Spines. What's up, YouTube? How is it going?
Jared,
What's that?
I'm glad we're recording,
Why is that?
because I don't have to listen to the debate.
And cut on that conversation.
Done.
That's as political as we're getting.
Maybe too much.
I think the general disdain for debates is fair play.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you don't go any deeper than that, I think we're fine. That's not what we're here for. Jackie O's, by the way, again, in case Jackie O's is listening, come sponsor the podcast. They're coming to Columbus. I'm so excited about that.
Last time we were this excited for a beer coming to Columbus was when we were in college when Yingling came to Columbus.
What a weird time that was. I mean, we obviously already get Jackie O's in Columbus. They're just down in Athens. But we're going to have an actual tap room in Columbus now on 4th Street. I'm so happy.
Yes.
I am so, so happy. It sucks that it kind of came at the demise of Elevator Brewing. That stinks. Elevator Brewing was already for sale. I was kind of hoping that someone was going to buy them and keep Elevator going, which I don't imagine is what Jackie O's is going to do, unless maybe they keep the Elevator name around for a second brand. I don't know. But I don't think we have details on that yet, but it does look like Jackie O's is moving into the old Elevator space on 4th Street, including the brewing facility and the tap room, and I'm really excited about that. It's going to be right. It's just like the next block down from Wolf's Rage, and longtime listeners know that we're big fans of Wolf's Rage on this podcast, even if they aren't currently paying us. And I'm going to move to 4th Street, I think is what it boils down to. I think I need to find an apartment on 4th Street. Or a condo, something. Nice brown box. I don't know. All right, that's enough beer talk. Let's rejoin the listeners. Would once again like to thank the Crooked Spines for ending today's show, and of course thank the Mad Canadian for sponsoring today's show. Mad Canadian is our homie, is basically what it boils down to. He's given us some cool promo codes in the Discord to get us some extra special deals. That's an added benefit of being a Patreon/Discord member. We already talked about the Coffee and Q. I don't want to talk about that one again. By the way, 1 year 20. That's ONE year 20. Will get you 20% off your entire order. That promo code only lasts through October. We'll have Sloopcast 10 back once we get into November. But if you want to get that 20% off, you need to act this month. So I grabbed the Sonoran Heat. That is a great do-it-all spice right there, much like the S&P Bud or the smoked. If you want to get like a trio of incredibly versatile spices, that's your versatile trio right there. And if you want to meet the Mad Canadian, and make sure to tell him the Sloopcast sent you. Cool dude. He has his barbecue bus, and it's scarlet and it's gray. You won't miss it if you're in Cary, Ohio. This Friday, and depending upon when you're listening to this, that might be difficult. From 11 to 3 in Cary, Ohio, the corner of North and Patterson, which is right across from the fire department. And then on Saturday, which it feels like a little bit more likely if you're listening to this, from noon to 4 at the Ace Hardware in Cary, Ohio. So if you find yourself in or near or traveling through Cary, Ohio this weekend, make sure to go check out the Mad Canadian. Make sure to tell him the Sloopcast sent you. And tug on his beard, because I hear it's good luck. I don't know where that came from. That one's just for the Mad Canadian to make him laugh. That's all that one was for. But even if his beard doesn't, his beard only has him covered. That's the line. The beard only has him covered, but his spices have you and my and Kyle's butts covered. The Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where he has your butt covered.